The Snapshots Music and Arts Foundation presents a conversation with Kurt Loder on his history at MTV. Part 2.
I don't believe that music can be foisted on people. I mean, even if you paid MTV to play this video 10 times every hour, that doesn't mean people are going to like it. I don't think you can force people to accept music. The pop star aspect of it is something different. I mean, cute guys and cute girls will always be popular, but I don't think you can force music on people. So I think people enjoy seeking stuff out and feeling like they've discovered it themselves. I mean, there's an audience that's willing to be given whatever's next, but I think there's a lot more active searching for cool music now.
Well, there was an article ironically titled Careers in Jazz. If jazz was just marketed more, and this kind of brings us back to the idea of MTV, if it was just marketed better, then more people would be enjoying it.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I think that's stupid. There's always been a problem with jazz. When jazz was popular music, like in the 20s and 30s, they were rock stars. It was popular music. That was the music that people went out and danced to. And when jazz became more cerebral, in the 40s and 50s with the arrival of bebop and stuff like that, it was no longer popular music in that sense. It was, a lot of it's still great, but it's a specialized audience. Classical music was once very popular too. People really wanted to see the latest opera. They wanted to see the latest symphony or something, because that was the popular music at its time. That's not going to be the case anymore. It's very expensive to keep a classical music organization going, an orchestra or something. Who can afford it? It's very expensive to keep a large band on the road. So that can't really be done either. I think people know all there is to know about jazz, probably, and classical music, and there's an audience for those things, but it's not going to be the Justin Bieber audience, which is right now, and it's more immediate. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I know jazz people always complain about that, but in 20 years, people will be looking back at Kanye West is where there's nothing is even approaching that today, and they'll be wrong too. That's just a process of aging, I think.
Right. Nostalgia is kind of a dangerous phenomena that seems to affect every succeeding generation.
It does. Well, yeah, it does, but that's very human. I think there's nothing unusual about it. There's nothing wrong with it. That's just how we are, I think. I mean, a lot of the music of my youth, I think it's really great too, but I don't think it's the only music there is, and I don't think it was the only good music that's been made since then. So I think if you really like music, period, you're going to be more open to new stuff that comes along, because it's just another wrinkle in the grand tapestry.
You live in New York. What is your relationship with music now?
I don't write about music anymore, but yeah, I love music. I mean, and there's, as you say, there's all kinds of music going on. I have no interest in going to Madison Square Garden or anything, just because it's such a logistically hideous experience. But, there are all these little clubs where people are playing, and people you've never heard of, little jazz places, little avant-garde places, little rock clubs, so occasionally I'll bop in there. But I listen to a lot of music. I get a lot of stuff off of, I think a site like emusic.com is just heaven. It's such a great place. They have every worldwide independent record label represented. They have all this music you've never heard of, and you could spend entire nights just being on that site and going through stuff, discovering new stuff. So I think that's great too. New York is always great for music. There's music on the streets. There's always some guy in the corner playing a saxophone. So this is an ideal place to be.
I asked each of the musicians, many who are performing in New York and are very well noted, what did they think about the changes in New York from the time that they arrived? And all of them concurred that New York itself is not the same city. It has evolved. I don't know if they felt that it was all positive.
Oh, yeah, it's not the same city. Nothing is the same. There are always people who say, boy, you should have been in Greenwich Village in the 50s. And if you were there in the 50s, people said, boy, you should have been here in the 20s. It was really great. It was always great yesterday. But there's a lot of great stuff happening today. New York is very, very expensive. And just because it is an island, there's not going to be more real estate opening up. The cost of having a music club of some sort becomes more and more expensive. I mean, your landlord, when your lease runs out, your landlord is going to say, well, I'm raising like $2,000 an hour, and there's nothing you can do about that. So that's definitely a problem for live music. But I don't think live music is the only way you're hearing music. You know, it's a problem, but I don't know what to say about it. It's a problem for all kinds of businesses. Just the real estate aspect of it is a problem. There are people still playing. There are clubs where you can still go see stuff. There's a great club here called Le Poisson Rouge, which stages everything from jazz to avant-garde to opera. And that's a phenomenal club. It's just really great, and it's run by people who are, in fact, musicians, but they're also good business people, obviously. So there's always something coming along. I mean, old clubs like, you know, The Bottom Line, they're no longer here. Well, they're no longer here, but everything changes, and that's just the ugly truth of it. Go until 3 in the morning playing hardcore, chances are you're not going to find a place where you can establish that club, because people who live nearby are just going to go bananas. So that's a consideration also. Live music continues to get played, though. I mean, it still happens. And you know, in the 70s, there was a loft scene where jazz people would just put on their own shows in lofts, like in people's lofts. So there's always, you know, musicians always find a way to respond to the demand for live music. I'm not worried that it's going to die out. It's hard, but you know, not impossible.
It's probably a good thing that even with all the rewards that seem so attractive, the golden carrot of the past, that people continue to have enough passion, interest to music to, you know, spend the time and the investment to be involved.
Yeah, if you love music, music is what you do, and you love it, you're going to find a way to do it. You may not become, you know, wealthy in, as I say, the Justin Bieber sense, but you'll still be doing what you love, and you'll be getting that music out to people who want to hear it. So I mean, it's always a struggle. The music business, being a musician has always been a struggle. So not much has changed about that, but there are a lot more potential outlets for it.
When I visited Juilliard, I commented on the irony to jazz director Carl Allen that, you know, Miles Davis left Juilliard to go learn how to play jazz properly on the street, and today they have a jazz program promising to teach young people how to properly play jazz.
That's true. I mean, I don't think you're going to learn anything at an institution about, you know, musical authenticity. I'm not sure what that's all about. There's sort of a school of music like that, but who cares? You know? I mean, some of the greatest players of all time were not music majors in college. You know, they were just really talented.
I mean, not to put down music education in any way, but it's just incredible how there are, you know, many young people that are going to attend music schools and to get their degree in jazz, or
we'll probably never hear them again. I mean, it's very much the same with film schools. Film schools turn out thousands of new directors every year. Where are they going to work? You know, I mean, there are too many directors already. There are probably too many filmmakers and artists also. I mean, art schools turn out thousands of artists every year, and what are they going to do? How are they going to make a living? They have to embrace the fact that you're working in a field in which you may not be able to make a living because it's so difficult in the arts of all sorts. So I don't know. And I wouldn't expect much in the way of, you know, music schools or art schools producing something of transcendent value just because it's an academic, you know, approach to it.
Right. What is your personal music collection like?
You know, I got 15,000 vinyl albums, I'm sure, most of them in storage. I've uploaded a lot of stuff to iTunes, which I find very handy, although you're always subject to bit rot, which means a track may just begin to decompose on you. Got all kinds of classical music from, you know, the Baroque period, the Renaissance. Got a lot of jazz, have a lot of folk music. I mean, you know, stuff from abroad. It's just an unending thing. So I've got lots and lots. I've been, you know, listening to music for a long time and writing about it. So the older you get, the more stuff you seem to accrue. And I love every bit of it. I listen to stuff all the time.
Are there particular publications, music publications, or sources that you go to and find to be of quality?
I wouldn't say I do. I'm trying to think. No, I wouldn't say that. The whole idea of writing about music, see, there's some writers that I read about. Sacha Frere Jones, I think, is a really good writer about music. and occasionally you'll find stuff that's really well done. There are great music writers out there, but I don't think they all group around one publication. I mean, once upon a time, you could say Rolling Stone just has all these great writers. Even if you didn't care about music, you'd want to read them because they're great writers. And I'm not sure if there's a place like that now, but there are places to read about music. But I don't. There isn't one publication they say, well, I've got to get this month's, copy of that. I just don't feel that way. I could be wrong, or maybe I'm just unaware of what's going on.
You mentioned Rolling Stone. When you pick up a copy of it today, what do you think of looking at that publication when you pick up a copy?
Well, I don't. I read everything online, so I generally don't pick up a copy of anything. So it's all online. But times change. They're serving their audience. If they're still in business, they're doing a good job of serving their audience. They may be covering stuff in which I have no interest, but so what? Who cares what I have an interest in? Everything changes. It's not, Rolling Stone isn't what it was in the 70s when I was doing so much great stuff. But nothing is what it was in the 70s.
Did you see film criticism as a natural fit for your interests?
I think after a while you may have said all you need to say about music. Pauline Kael, the great film critic, arrived at that position. He said, I don't think I have anything else to say. And films are interesting because everything is always new. There's always something new. There's some new congeries of talents that create new experiences. So I was very interested in it, and I had written about film at MTV Online, actually, for 7 or 8 years. So it was a matter of finding another outlet for it. So I write for the Reason magazine website, and that's also syndicated by Creators Syndicate. And I do a weekly thing on a syndicated radio show. And I'm doing exactly the amount of stuff I want to do. So I'm very happy. I'm glad I'm able to write about movies. Again, writing is a very hard business. I'm glad I'm not just getting into the writing game, because writers are just treated with no respect at all. Writers are told that, well, we'll let you write for our website. Of course, we're not going to pay you, but you'll have a byline, and that should be enough, which is just outrageous, I think. It's very hard to be a writer. So, as I say, I'm glad I'm not just breaking into the field.
Many critics, music writers, are being cut, and that's too bad.
So, Alex Ross is my favorite classical music critic. I just think he's so good. People in the online world, it's all about page hits. And if you can't put something in a headline that's going to draw people immediately, you're kind of, who cares about what you do? So the first things to go are like music critics or movie critics who really needs them, music critics who really needs them. It's tough for that sort of thing. Just the economics of journalism are in such flux that it's kind of frightening.
There are so many bad films, and it seems like a lot of film critics are gun-shy at just calling them out.
That's always been true. It's any place you write for is going to be, the bottom line is going to be, there's this big movie coming out, you have to cover it. There's nothing wrong with that. It might be a great movie, it might be a horrible movie, but I'm sure there's pressure to, hey, everybody loves this movie, and it costs gazillions of dollars. You're saying you don't like it, our reader's going to be angry. I think there's always been that pressure too. And there are little-known movies, but in that case, a lot of your audience, if it's a national audience, is not going to have the opportunity to see them, which is another problem, which doesn't mean you shouldn't write about them, but it's another consideration, I think.
What was your take on Prometheus, the film?
Technically it was fabulous and everything. He's a great filmmaker. He's especially a great action filmmaker. But the story was really stupid. It was a cowboys and Indians story from cobbled together from old movies from the 40s and 30s. So I thought that was very, very, very stupid. It's an aging hippie view of social values. Technically, it was great. I'm amazed that there are people who want to see that movie in 2D. I don't think I could bear to sit through it. But he's a great, great filmmaker. I have tons of respect for him. There's a great film I just reviewed, actually, called Side by Side, which I recommend to everybody who likes movies, which is about the shift from film to digital reproduction. And Keanu Reeves is behind it. He got the movie made, and he turns out to be a really smart guy. He's in it interviewing people. And it's every major director you can think of weighs in on this subject, and it's just fascinating. It's a really interesting movie. So go see it.
Film is, it seems like a wide open field, and we're, in the music field, we're trying to get our bearings back.
Everyone is. I mean, film is the same way. You can go out and make a film with a camera the size of a regular 35 millimeter camera now for like $3,000 for the camera, and you can turn that into a movie that looks like a movie. It doesn't just look like home video. So it's wonderful, and many more people are able to make movies, but that doesn't mean that there are many more talented people that should be making movies. It's always the case. So you're always going to run up against that.
I think I would speak on behalf of many who are fans of your work. It's a real pleasure whenever we get to read or hear you talk on television, and give your take on media and culture is very valuable.
No, thank you very much. I'll try to keep on keeping on.
Thank you for listening.